There is a gigantic cave of cheese underneath my city. I am on a mission to find out why. For the uninitiated, my name is Austin. I hail from Springfield, a former cowtown turned third largest city in the state of Missouri. Springfield's pretty swell. Aside from being the birthplace of Route 66, the home of Bass Pro Shops, and the Wonders of Wildlife Museum, it has several lakes, almost 100 parks, over 100 miles of bike trails, and numerous underground caves. Missouri has in fact long been known as the Cave State, with over 7,000 documented, some public, many private. These caves are often quite beautiful, with rich history and folklore. Probably the most well-known in our city is Fantastic Caverns, which operated as an underground speakeasy in the 1920s and now 100 years later serves as one of the city's most popular tourist traps. But as Greta Cross of the Springfield News Leader notes, the town's underground cheese cave isn't actually a natural cavern. Rather, it's part of a 3.2 million square foot high-security warehouse known as Springfield Underground. Originally started in 1946 as the family-owned Geismar limestone quarry, after successfully scratching the surface, the mining operation moved underground, and by 1960 had become one of the biggest limestone mining operations in the country, with enough being removed to build a 250,000-foot operations warehouse. 5.5 decades and over 31 million tons of limestone later, the Geismar Stone Company started to realize that profits would stop once the limestone ran out, so they shifted from the mining business to the storage business. Cold storage. The ambient temperature of the former limestone mine is a constant 62 degrees, and with 3.2 million square feet free from topside exposure and an on-site maintenance crew that works around the clock to manage the temperature of buildings from 55 degrees Fahrenheit all the way down to -20, the site is the perfect environment to store refrigerated foods. The ins and outs of this underground facility used to be better known, but starting around 2015, the company began playing things a bit closer to the vest. Public tours were halted. Entrances are now heavily guarded and require special access. Clientele became less publicized, but what we do know is that the facility is state-of-the-art. The underground contains several buildings that range from 50,000 to 400,000 square feet. It sports 224 docking doors, has a specialized fire protection system, contains 3 miles of lit underground roadway, and even has its own powered rail system. It's pretty much straight out of Half-Life. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Springfield Underground is that so few people know that it's even there. Despite it having direct access to Highway 65 and Interstate 44, most residents of Springfield are blissfully ignorant of the fact that their town contains a massive underground facility that stores classified material from highly confidential clients. I'm not saying there are zombies down there, but I'm also not saying that there aren't. So okay, enough about this crazy facility. Where did the cheese thing come from? Is it a joke? Some kind of weird, elaborate hoax? Well, actually, no. The Cheese Cave of Springfield, Missouri is very real, and you can thank the federal government. So federal food and farming laws go through the United States Department of Agriculture, better known as the USDA. These are the folks that make sure your food is safe to eat, that agriculture production goes smoothly, yada yada yada, and they also regulate, assist, and promote the U.S. dairy industry. You remember dairy, cows and milk, butter, cheese, yeah, you're smart. The thing is, the price of milk tends to be volatile. This is due to various factors outside the scope of this video, but what you do need to know is that in 1949, the USDA under President Harry Truman created the Dairy Product Price Support Program to help out struggling dairy farms. In a nutshell, when the price and demand for dairy drops too low for dairy farmers to sustain their operations, the United States government agreed to buy all of the unsold inventory, thus keeping those farmers in business. But what is the government supposed to do with all that dairy? dairy. Dairy spoils, and having to figure out how to store it all, that costs even more money. So massive stockpiles of cheese were sent to over 150 warehouses across the country as a temporary way of dealing with the excess inventory. But the problem didn't exactly go away. As the government program went on, inventory started compounding. You see, knowing that Uncle Sam had promised to buy all of their remaining stock, these dairy farmers cheekily decided to just churn out more and more dairy than ever before, because, I mean, they're gonna buy it, right? Right, and the more the government bought, the more they had to store. We're talking hundreds of millions of pounds of cheese, with more and more being purchased every year. The whole situation, eventually to many, became a symbol of government overreach and waste. The USDA finally decided to tear up the dairy support agreement, and officials mused that the most cost-effective solution to the entire debacle would likely be to just dump all of that cheese into the ocean. Finally, by the end of the century, it looked like things were settling down. Until 2016, when the Trump administration began offering large farming subsidies to offset the impact of its trade war with China, Canada, and the European Union. And all at once, cheese was back on the government menu. As a result, the United States government soon found itself with another 1.5 billion pounds of cheese that it needed to store. While plenty of cheese wheelin' and dealin' had gone on behind the scenes, including selling some of this inventory to private companies, the storage of much of these stockpiles is handled by none other than Springfield Underground. And while many dairy fans in the Springfield and the Ozarks area might be excited to learn that so much cheese is literally beneath their feet, in truth, we're probably cheddar off without it. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. They give you everything you need to put together a beautiful, personalized website. Using Squarespace is simple. You start by choosing from one of their stunning, customizable templates, and then you can shape it to your site's specific needs. They've got tons of great features. If you want to start a podcast, you can do so with their Audio Blocks feature. If you want to make a place for an online community, try member areas. And if you have goods or services to sell, they offer easy-to-use online storefronts. You can get started today by going to squarespace.com and beginning a free trial. If you like the experience, and I think you will, then when you're ready to launch your site, head over to squarespace.com/Austin McConnell and you can save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain.